Okay, so I've attached the torso piece with the bottom hip piece. So all you need to do to attach your pieces is have some water and a toothbrush. This works really, really well for really soft plastic clay. If it gets too dry, then you'd actually have to mix in a bunch of clay with the water so it's more goopy, and actually like scratch it more with one of those bamboo sticks. Alright, so figuring out where everything's going to go. So just figuring out my joints. I'm going to take the toothbrush, dip it in. Don't need a lot of water. If you get too much, it's too messy. And just like you're brushing your teeth, just kind of scratch it up. And you want to do that to both pieces that you're adding. So you're just kind of breaking up the particles in the clay so that way they will blend nicely and they'll shrink together. Make sure too that you actually smooth out the joints that you're adding together. If you don't do this, they'll just come apart still. So that's really important. So you want to score, so that's with using the toothbrush, and smooth together. If you need to add little bits of clay, that's fine too. If it's small enough, you don't necessarily have to score when it's really, really soft, but once it gets drier, then you'll still want to score. Okay. Now you're probably wondering why I just didn't bend the clay in the first place. I have more control over my angles if I just attach the pieces like this, especially if they're a little bit sharper. You don't want to get a lot of weak points and cracks just by bending the clay too much. So, plus you can get proportions a little bit easier. Okay, so you'll probably notice that I keep turning around, checking all sides. Don't just work on it from one angle, because it is a three-dimensional piece. So pick it up, look at it. If you need to add a little extra piece of clay just to help prop it up just for the time being, that's okay. I didn't necessarily do that here, but feel free. So I'm turning the torso a little bit so it feels a little bit more natural. Okay, I'm going to start adding the arms right now.
Jody to Brenda.
Alright, so for the arms, just like when you're doing the legs, obviously like the bicep, tricep area is going to be a little bit thicker than, say, the forearm, so be aware of that. And instead of trying to attach a separate hand, I'm just going to kind of model a hand from the arm itself. So I'm just kind of establishing a wrist. So I'm doing kind of a triangle, since the middle finger is longer and it kind of creates this kind of stylized triangle shape. And for the bottom arm that's going to be on his right side, there must have been an actual bow in his hand at one point, so it looks like he was holding it. So I just kind of curved it around that bamboo stick, just to make it look like it was holding something at one point. Later on I'll go in and actually draw in like the finger lines, but for now I'll just do just a simple little mitten look almost. But I want to make it look like there's fabric over it, and so tapering a little bit, but not as much, just because he's got kind of these like draping fabric pieces. And I'll add a little bit smaller pieces of clay later once I have these attached and established. And one thing I didn't do, that you'd want to do this before you attach your arms, he has kind of this kilt over his legs, and it's a lot easier to add that before you add the arms.